Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm really glad you're here today for what I know is going to be another interesting and powerful conversation. So thanks for joining us. I'd like to take a minute and welcome my guest, Evan Lagueruela. Evan, how are you today?
I'm doing great and really looking forward to this, Sid. I appreciate you having me on here. So definitely thank you for the invite here.
Well, I'm really glad to have you here, Evan. And guys, I want to set this up for you for just a minute. Evan is the new president of Trinity Furniture based in Trinity, North Carolina. I had the opportunity to meet Evan at Spring Breakout in Charlotte, and we had a really nice conversation about what the company was doing. It's really been one of my first exposures to Trinity, and we had a really great conversation, and we decided we'd schedule a podcast. And so, but Evan, very much being as humble as he is, said, I don't want to be the center of the podcast. I really want you to talk to my dad because my dad has some great stories to tell about how the company started. And we had a discovery call with that. And it was a really, really great discovery call. A moment in time in my life where I wish I'd hit the record button and recorded the discovery call because we talked for a little over an hour. And then very unfortunately, Evan lost his father and the leader of Trinity Furniture just a couple of months ago. But he reached out and said, I'd still like to tell the story. And so, guys, that's a little bit of setup of why we're here today to help tell the story and the legacy of a leader in our industry that unfortunately passed away a couple of months ago, and to introduce you to his son and the future of Trinity Furniture and talk a little bit about where the company is going. So, Evan, a warm welcome to you, my friend.
Yes, thank you, and that's a good recap there. You put that together very well. But I like you said, I hate that we missed the opportunity because not only would it have been a good story time for George to be able to share our story, but I think it would have been cool for us to be able to look back on it and seen and been able to hear everything as we went back and forth interaction wise. His life really is like a lifetime movie. I feel like at times for me to be able to recap that and the way I've seen it and looked up to him over the years is I think it'll be a fun time here. So
well, the nice part about what we're going to do is today is we're going to get to honor his legacy just a little bit and, talk a little bit about some of the things he experienced. But before we do that, actually, please introduce yourself. I mean, give us an official introduction because I just kind of skipped over that part. So introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yes. So like you said, my name's Evan Lagueruela. I'm newly president of Trinity Furniture, but it's something that it's a family business. So I've been involved with it from when I was a toddler running around getting into mischief, I'm sure, the factory there. But like I said, I grew up here. I went out afterwards, but just seeing what my dad built has been something that's very inspiring over the years. And the biggest thing is I would love to be able to continue that legacy. And that's my ultimate goal here. So
Evan, you left, you grew up in the business. I'm sure that you did cause mischief in the factory. I'm sure there's probably a chair or something that went out the factory that's got your fingerprints all over it from when you were a kid, right? Misstitching or something. But you said you left and then you came back. When did you come back into the family business?
Yes. And so I went to college. Obviously, I worked some summers growing up and then I went to college, went off there and I wanted to go my own way, but my dad also wanted me to go my own way. He wanted to be able to make sure that if I did come back, at the time, I didn't think I had any interest in joining a family business, but at the time, he also had the thought in his head that, hey, I want to make sure if you are going to become involved that you get your own experiences so that it's not just coming right in here. So I graduated, worked for Pepsi for a little while and then worked for a fabric company in High Point here that was able to help me kind of get more on the manufacturing side because we work with manufacturers and that really allowed me to kind of see from the outside different ways that I thought would work well. And it's allowed me to kind of transition things that here and my own vision. So it's been fun getting back involved because I got to see his, not just as my dad, but also see him in the actual business side and see how he operates in that sense. So his story and everything is really what it comes back to, the legacy.
Yeah. Well, when we did our pre-call with him, again, guys, it's a moment in time I wish I'd hit the record button and I'll never forget that. So, but he told some amazing stories. I mean, he shared so much about his journey as a young child and them leaving on an airplane and, and the bill and starting the business and all these different things. From all the stories that, I mean, I heard several, but you've heard them your entire life.
Yes, more than enough times, I'm sure, to where
Absolutely, absolutely. What story stands out to you that you would like to share with our community about your dad?
The first thing that stands out is just his family's start to being in the U.S. because, as you can see by my crazy last name, it just doesn't originate here in Trinity, North Carolina, but he was born in Havana, Cuba, which in itself is a crazy enough ability to be able to get to the U.S. It's the relationship between the U.S. and Cuba has been so strained for a while, but he was there before it all had gotten to the point where it is now. And so my grandfather and his brother actually owned, and it was a family business as well, a printing company called Litografía Omega. And it was a printing company that printed the Spanish versions of Time magazine, Reader's Digest, and different things like that all throughout Central and South America. And they had the only Heidelberg press south of North America in the Americas. So it was a pretty advanced company at the time. And obviously, with what happened in Cuba when Fidel Castro took over, the government basically came in and said, "This is no longer yours." And so I can't imagine that happening here, because it would be the same thing as if somebody walked into our company and saying, "This is no longer yours." And it's just I'm sure at the time it was just a huge transition, because my grandfather was forward thinking enough to before the government took over the business, but they hadn't taken over the entire country yet. So he basically set his family up to come to Miami, Florida, and get them out before it got too bad. And so my dad would joke about how if he hadn't done that quickly enough, then I might have never existed, and he might have been a taxi driver driving around Havana just trying to make sure that they could make ends meet. So it's pretty impressive there, that just joking around on that one. But my grandfather was able to restart and remodel the company in Miami, and that really is what helped them not be stuck in a communist country.
Now, how old was your dad when this happened? When they, because if I remember the story correctly, they literally like got on a plane, like the last plane leaving Havana before Castro took over the entire country. Did I remember that right?
Pretty accurate, yes, sir. That basically he always joked that when we were younger, that he would row over on a banana boat, and obviously we believed it for a long time, but then eventually the plane had taken him. So my grandfather left earlier and set things up, and then brought the rest of the family over, and it was very close to the end of people not being able to get out. And that like I said, I mean, the fear they probably had coming here without really much of a known factor going into it is a lot of unknown, and it's just crazy to me to have that happen. So that it's a true testament of the American dream, because my grandfather was able to really set their entire family up in a way that they wouldn't have been fortunate enough.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, because this is a bit of a story of the American dream and coming from a foreign country, becoming citizens, establishing roots here, because your dad was young when that happened and came over, and he built a life. So tell us a little bit about how he got, like, his journey of getting into the furniture business, because printing down in Miami to furniture in Trinity, North Carolina, there's got to be a pathway there that connects the dots.
It doesn't seem like it connects very easily, does it? It's a small world. So my father was an avid soccer player, and he gained a scholarship to a college. At the time it was High Point College. Now it's High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. And he came here to this area through that. And obviously High Point is a furniture pillar of the U.S. So it was fortunate. I mean, the fact that he would have never thought anything furniture related prior to that, it was just a factor that played into probably one of the schools that offered him a scholarship, and that's where he went at that point. So he met my mom and several of his best friends there at the school, and there's a lot of fortunate events there that I think wouldn't have been possible had he not gone through with that. And so High Point's definitely a different location than Miami, but there was a yacht company in High Point. It's 300 miles from the ocean. I have no idea why the yacht company in High Point, but he started working there in college, and that kind of gave him some sales experience and transitioned into it. And while he was working there, he met his neighbor. His name's JB Kennedy, and JB had worked in furniture for years, and he had been a cutter, a plant manager, different things like that. And it kind of, he had the furniture knowledge. They had a porch side chat basically, and they came up with the idea of, hey, we could you have the sales experience, I have furniture, we could really potentially make this into something that could work. So JB put in $490, my dad put in $510, and that's how Trinity Furniture was started, which is
wait a minute, with $1,000 each of them putting in almost, so your dad put in 510, the other guy put 490. Said it started with $1,000.
Yes.
One of them, hey, you know how to do sales, one, you know how to build yachts, and they decided to build furniture.
Yes.
Okay.
So
what year was
the other guy was the furniture guy. My dad just did sales.
Okay. Yep.
So that was
what year was this?
1984 was when we started. So almost, we're getting close to 40 years now, and it's amazing to me to think about, because my dad was only 27 at the time, and to think that he was able to start a business at 27, navigating all that and being able to still handle, again, the mischief my siblings and I were getting into, it was interesting. So the funny thing is that, again, High Point being a furniture pillar, Thomasville is also right in there, and Iowa is in Thomasville, and they actually started above the plating facility that Iowa used to have. And so for the first 2 years we were in business, they were above Iowa's plating factory, doing some reupholstery, doing some stuff for Iowa, helping out in different ways. But it's a like I said, a small world to know that that's someone we compete against every day. And they were nice enough to allow him to really get his roots there. I mean, there's a way he wouldn't have been able to start without those first legs that went into the.
So what was the very first product they made?
That
was a sigh of, oh no, I'm gonna have to talk about this very first product. I love it.
Yeah. There was a lot of reupholstery. Like I said, they did some stuff for friends. I think once they ran out of friends to reupholster their couches, they started to chase that government business. JB had some experience in it, and with my dad being a minority at that point, there was some legs that he could walk on to be able to gain some access to it. So we really got into some government executive chairs, and then expanded on that into other things. But we have this it's a 4-star base, which you can't even do on casters anymore. Yeah. That we had on contract. It was the first piece that we had, and it's pretty hideous, but it obviously but it's amazing to see the process that went into it. And so, like I said, the government business actually just kind of allowed us to take that step up. So like I said, we were in Iowa's building for 2 years. That progressed enough to where he bought this property in Trinity that opened up the door to expand on the manufacturing process.
All right, so I want to recap this for a second. Two guys came together and started the business with $1,000. Started doing remanufacturing, and they had a little reupholstery work.
Yes.
And they had a little shop above a furniture manufacturer that you now compete with.
Yes.
That literally basically kind of helped you get into business because you were a supplier definitely to them. Then they came up with an executive chair that and started selling it to the government, and then migrated to buying a piece of property and building a building in Trinity, North Carolina. And now look at where you guys are.
It's pretty amazing. And I can't credit enough the foresight that they had on the government side, because I mean, the government always pays their bills, and it was an easy transition into maintaining good orders and whatnot. And also our quality really honed in on GSA, because George was always going up to DC to talk with the different GSA engineers, and they really required certain specifications to be maintained, and if they weren't, then it wasn't going to be acceptable. So the amount of time that he was going up there allowed him to learn this and that needs to be done, and from there it just basically made us realize what we had to do and maintain that. And that's still, we have a BIFMA approved testing machine in the back of our factory that we purchased back in the early 90s that was basically at the recommendation of GSA. And that same BIFMA machine from the 90s is still used on our current products. There's a drop test, and it allows us to maintain our quality for sure.
So Evan, when you think back about the history of the company, I would love to hear your answer and then what you believe your dad's answer would be if they're different. Yeah. Okay. What would your dad say was like a pivotal point in the company's history that really put you on the trajectory of where you are today? What would he say?
I think we would say, I wasn't involved at the time, but I think we would say the same thing. There was a furniture show that he went to, and they had a request for loaner furniture. And basically there wasn't he didn't know what loaner furniture was, but it was a good opportunity. And the location, it was Kadena Air Force Base in Okinawa, Japan. And they had a request because basically they have military personnel comes in, they go to the location, they are far away from home and they don't have anything with them. So they give them this furniture, and basically it's there until their stuff gets there. And so they requested that there be removable components and covers that could be fixed and whatnot. And so we basically engineered it in a way that all of the furniture, all the covers could come off. There was antimicrobial moisture barrier underneath it, and it allowed for this loaner furniture to be able to use in a way that it could be destroyed essentially and then be replaced if needed be. And so at that point, our facelift line, which is still current today, was started because our reps looked at it and they said, wow, I mean, this is perfect for healthcare. I mean, you could put this in a hospital and it's exactly what we need. The antimicrobial moisture barrier, the removable components, just like in a military base, you go to a hospital, people destroy the furniture way around it. It's an everyday.
What year was that Facelift? The product was Facelift. And just for clarity, the product's called Facelift. Your dad did it for a military base in Okinawa. Yes. And it's completely, you can completely take it apart and replace components of the chair. And then your rep saw it and said, wow, this would be great for healthcare. You can so basically, if an arm of a chair broke because someone sat on it, or got whatever happened, guys, you know how pieces of furniture break, so I don't have to explain that. But so the arm of the chair broke, you could literally take the arm off and order a new one and put a new arm on. But you can also do the same thing with the upholstery. So if the upholstery was worn out for whatever reason, you could take the arm off, take the sleeve of the cover, if you will, of the arm cover, and then put a new one back on and attach it, and basically you fix the chair.
Exactly. And so the order from Kadena Air Force Base was in 92 or 93, and our facelift line launched not long after that. But basically, they did a couple other military bases with the same idea in mind. One was Sicily, Cicinella in Italy, and 20 years later, almost to the day, we got a replacement fabric order. They didn't do anything. They just ordered replacement covers. We sent the covers, never heard a word from them. So the only thing I can think is that it went smoothly. They put the covers on and everything was replaced in the furniture.
Okay. Oh, hold up. You just blew over that like way too fast. 20 years after someone bought the product, they placed an order for replacement covers, and you made them and you shipped them to them.
Exactly. We had the pattern still. We were able to look at what they had ordered at the time. George remembered the order, obviously, because that was the beginning of Facelift, essentially. And we cut and sewed these Velcro covers that were able to be shipped over to them, and it went on, and from there they were able to have renewed furniture. And we do that every day. I mean, basically because our covers are applied with Velcro. If it's just a seat, if it's just an arm, something like that can be replaced very easily. And in addition to that, it went a step farther by a leg, a back, a arm cap. Any of that can be removed in a way to be renewable components, and it's helped out tremendously.
Well, I think I've mentioned this to you before in some of our conversations. This is such a powerful story, and what the product does, I think, is really fantastic. Because if you're a frequent listener to the Trend Report, you've heard me say this before, and I'll say it here again because I think it's so important. 25% of the landfills in North America are furniture that people throw away. And then another 25% is waste from the built environment in building buildings and renovating buildings. So as an industry, collectively as a whole, we contribute to 50% of what goes into a landfill on an annual basis. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. As an industry, we need to take note of that. But you have product innovation. That's 20, but I just did the math, like 28 years old, that is helping to curb that. Because normally what would have happened is that company, that military base, would have thrown all those chairs away and put out an RFP, spent a whole lot of money and bought all these new chairs. But because of the technology that was created almost 30 years ago, you're able to easily create them. And that has such an impact in our industry, not just to landfill, but also to the longevity of the product. Because we, as an industry, we make quality products. They will last a lot longer. In fact, you'll hear a lot of people say things like it goes out of style before it actually wears out. You've created something that allows it to come back into style. So if you've got a gray and mauve chair that was bought in the 80s, you can bring it up to current in the 2020s. So
and like you said, we touched on it earlier, but I think that's why what BIFMA's doing is so great. It pushes the green certification to where we're not so much waste. And when BIFMA first introduced that level program, we were right in line with it because we were already doing so many of those things. It was already with what we were doing, and we just had to basically get certified to follow through with it. So it's really a testament to like you said, we need to do a better job in protecting the earth, and if we can have a step forward in that, I think it's a great thing.
So Evan, obviously your dad got sick, had some issues, and fought a great battle, but it was at this point in time that you probably realized that your role in the company was changing and you were going to need to. So tell us a little bit about the beginning of the transition, and maybe give us a little tip or a little insight about what you and your dad did to get you ready to take the seat that you sit in today.
Yeah, definitely. So my dad was a perfect bill of health. It's crazy. I mean, he rode his bike almost every day, and there's a thing called the Mountains to the Coast ride, bicycle ride in North Carolina, where the participants literally ride from one coast to the other, to the mountains. And I mean, 7 days, 70 miles a day. I mean, it always blew my mind that he did it. So that he was very healthy. The cancer was just a blindside. And I was at the fabric company I referenced earlier, whenever when he first found out. And when we knew what he had upcoming, he and I immediately knew that it would be helpful if I got involved in that. Got back into the company at that point from where just the minimal stuff that I was doing when I was younger. But from there, he attempted a stem cell transplant, and it didn't work. But after they tried a bone marrow transplant, and I don't know how much your listeners are aware of bone marrow transplants, but it's really a crazy thing because he was born outside of the U.S. There's a national bone marrow bank. Be the Match is helpful in that as an organization, and they went to search through the bank to figure out if they could find one, and he didn't have any matches. They looked at our family, didn't have any matches. They looked at his immediate family, didn't have any matches. So they had to go international, and they found 3 that were a perfect 10 out of 10 match. And because of that transplant, it saved his life and got him another 5 to 6 years that we wouldn't have had the opportunity. I can't be thankful enough for that. And it just shows how fortunate we are that they were able to do that. And so, like I said, whenever he got the cancer is when I got involved. He had multiple myeloma, And I keep saying how fortunate he is in this conversation, because my dad wouldn't have looked at it. Like he would have appreciated everything. He was so humble, and he never wanted to say, this is me, me, me. He would just put it off on everyone else because he didn't want to be the center of attention. He lived that way every single day. And so I know that he felt the same way about our employees here. And he would always say that they're the reason why we're successful. It's not something that he did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just extremely appreciative of how he set everything up there. And I want to continue that thought process on.
Sure. So not to pry too much, but how old are you?
I'm 31. I'm 31.
Okay. Okay. So you and I have a little bit of an interesting story. I'm considerably older than you, so I have a lot more gray hair, as you can see. So, but
there's gray hairs. I might just be hiding on the back of my head.
Oh, that's great. So you said 37?
31.
So we have a bit of a similar story. I lost my dad when I was 27. Mm-hmm. And so I understand. We didn't have a family business or anything like that, but my dad also passed of cancer. And so I completely understand like the last moments. What I mean by that is the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
back way, I mean, this was 20 something years, like almost 30 years ago that my dad passed away. So science had not advanced as far
Mm-hmm.
as it is today. And so the fact that your dad was able to get a bone marrow transplant and have extension into his life, it was an amazing gift. And I mean, yes, I look back definitely on my dad's life, and, though it's been so long ago, I still remember lots of highlights and things of that nature. And technology is different. Everything is different. There wasn't a platform like this to be able to share the story. And now we have platforms like this that allow people like you to share the story, share the legacy of your company, of your father, that your children and your grandchildren can listen to this and hear you talk about your dad and tell some of the stories. So, Evan, I'm honored to be here to have this conversation with you today, to honor your dad's legacy. But I also want to talk about the future. Yes, and talk a little bit about what you're doing and where's Trinity going. I mean, I know you got a lot of exciting things happening. So, talk to us a little bit about this and where you see the company going.
Yeah, and I think that if there's any good in COVID, is that for us personally, is that his doctors told him a year and a half ago if he got any trace of COVID, it would be bad news. So I kicked him out. I told him, you can't be here every day. And of course, he's very stubborn. So definitely he might have snuck in and got here without me looking, but he was still helping. But I was able to get some experience while I still had his talk and sounding board to use to move forward. So obviously losing him is a big loss, but we've got some really, really good people here that are helping and have helped for a long time already. So my sister left back in 2019 to start her own business, but now with everything going on, she's wanting to get back involved. That's in the process now. And she's got a design degree, which I'm more of a numbers guy, so it helps out a lot to be able to kind of bounce that off of it, two of us. And then David Williams is is an interior designer. He works with Wits End Design. It's his company. He's worked with companies like Cartwright, Paul Brayton, and Patrician, and many others. And we're fortunate that we have his ear, and he's helped out on a lot of things. And he's really involved as a designer. He helps on the engineering side a lot as well. And we're just very fortunate that he helps out there, definitely. And Chris Gray, someone we brought in as a sales manager recently, and it's a hard time for a sales manager because it's right during the middle of the pandemic to be able to do the daily responsibilities. But we're hoping that as soon as this travel can open back up, we can really hit the ground running there. A great job.
So if you had to share with our listeners, like today, well, let's talk first today. Today you have 3 different buckets of products, basically. So you've got healthcare, you've got corporate, and you got some really cool things in both the healthcare and the corporate category. And then you have what I would refer to as your legacy products. So the traditional tufted back chair, like you're sitting in, very what we all, but especially those of us that are from the South, we technically call traditional furniture.
Yes, and that was what our background was. Like we talked about here, the GSA still request that property. So we do stuff for the House of Representatives and the Senate. We're one of their primary suppliers, and it's all in that legacy collection. Like you said, it's going to have the tufted backs, the brass scuff plates, the brass casters. All that is something that we're still producing. But we just want to make sure that everyone knows that's not the only thing we do. So many times we hear Trinity Furniture, that's the traditional furniture company, right? And I think we all would cringe a little bit, not because we don't like that we're being recognized for that, but there's other things that we get into, like you said.
Yep.
And so really, on our healthcare side, we're proud that the Facelift collection really can push into many different ways. I mean, we've got sleepover, inpatient seating, lobby area seating, and for the most part, all has that Facelift option with it, as well as the new introductions that we're pushing forward with on the office and lobby and student and government. It pretty much works anywhere. We're pushing more of a contemporary line, and that's something that just in the past few years we've been working very hard to rebrand as much as we can, because we became so synonymous with traditional furniture.
Sure. It happens. I mean, companies, when they do things really, really well, their brand is associated with what they make, and that's happened to you, but it's certainly, you're busting that mold, if you will. You're breaking out of that mold, and you're pushing the company towards more contemporary, current styles. You've got innovation in healthcare that is really interesting to look at as a potential option for healthcare customers. So, Evan, you got the reins. What is the next? What's your vision for the next 3 to 5 years for Trinity?
I think that the biggest thing is we want to continue the rebranding. I mean, it like I said, so many people still don't even realize who we are, and we're never going to be the steel case, the Herman Miller. We're not ever going to get to that, but just,
and hey, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So
the biggest thing we want to be is a pain in their side. Sorry.
That's right. There are so many amazing small businesses, and you're in that category, and you don't have to be one of the big 3 or 5 to have amazing success in our industry. And I if you've listened to the podcast a lot, or if you know me very well, you know I'm a huge proponent of the small business and the small business manufacturer, because you guys are flexible, you're nimble, you can respond to customers' needs, you're agile, you can bring out new products quickly. There's such benefit, and you also just get to work with people.
Definitely.
Right? There's not a brand standing in front of you, and you just get to, I mean, if people needed to reach out and talk to you, they could talk to you. In fact, you've told me once before that you occasionally even take walks through the factory to inspect product.
Oh, that's an everyday thing, and that's being present for not only the customers but our employees is one of my biggest goals to maintain, because my dad did an amazing job of that, and that's something we want to keep a big in of what we have here. So being able to be customizable, like you said, that's something that we deal with every day. People know that we've dealt with previously that, hey, we're not going to say no right away. We're gonna be open to hearing what the option is. And because we do so much here, we are almost entirely vertical. I mean, the entire almost all of our product is made in-house. We barely go out of that. And I mean, when it comes to wood product, it's almost entirely made here. So metal and different things like that can be something that we're fortunate, because again, being in High Point, it's 20 to 30 minutes away, and we're able, where there's so many vendor options that can help support us, and that way we can keep everything here and keep everything US made, and that's something that we've always wanted to maintain.
Okay, so I need to highlight this too, because that's a mic drop moment, sorry, that I think is really important. You're in a place rich of suppliers.
Yes.
You're in a geographical area that you could outsource dozens of different things if you want to, but you're choosing to keep it all in-house. You're making it all in-house. You're keeping the company American-made products and doing what you do really well. When you do need other things like metal screws and, other metal pieces, you're going to local suppliers to get that. And that's leading by example, Evan. So many companies don't do that. They go straight to the other side of the world to get those pieces, and you're continuing the path of keeping Americans working, keeping American businesses moving, keeping American manufacturing moving, and you're playing your role in that by buy America, make and made in America. I mean, so I applaud you for that as well.
100%. And one of my dad's favorite joke, with him being a Cuban born, now American citizen, is that if he could maintain it at any point, he would want to make sure that he's the only import in our factories. He always joked about that.
I love him. I remember hearing him say that too, that he's the only import in the factory. That's really, really good. So Evan, I know you guys, as we start to wrap up here, I know that you guys have some exciting new products that have come out recently. Tell us a little bit about that. Give us a little bit of glimpse in some of the new product development you've got.
Yeah, definitely. We're really looking forward to launch some of this stuff. So we've had a lot of success in the bucket seating section in all different sectors, student, lobby, and everything in that regard. And we're really trying to expand on that. And especially with the COVID environment, we were launching this product called Wingding. And it's really a privacy lounge seating option that brings the barrier up, but allowing for a comfortable sit. That's something we're really excited about, as well as we've been trying very hard to get a new metal collection for years, and it's been tough because, again, we're a wood manufacturer. So local manufacturer right down the road partnered with us, and we're launching a product called Austin, and we had it at Spring Breakout, and we're going to expand on that here shortly. But basically, we're taking tubular metal and making it oval, and it's just a little bit of a different turn on it than just a standard metal product, and we're really excited about it.
So, again, I'm going to say something. New product innovation. You're pushing the path forward. You're meeting the need of some of the things that are coming up as it relates to COVID. But your new product, Austin. Mm-hmm. You got the design of the product. It fits in healthcare. It fits in education. It's got a lot of really unique things with it. I've seen a chair of it. That's it. At Spring Breakout, yep. I saw a chair of it. But you needed metal. You needed metal 100%. Pieces in order to make a metal chair, because there's a need for it. There's no doubt. Right here is where most people would go to the other side of the world to get the metal as cheap as they possibly could get it. Import it, put themselves in significant supply chain challenges, especially right now. And definitely right now. Strategically, Trinity Furniture says we are not doing that. This is a strategy of our company. It will be American made. And you go to a local business to partner with you. It helps them. It helps you. And now you bring a product out to market that the market needs. And you can proudly stand up and stand behind it and say, this is American made. And I love that. Because so many manufacturers, listen, I've been there. I get it. Guys, I love you all. It's cool. But sourcing abroad, we do it too much. And we need to bring some of that back here. And again, I said it a few minutes ago, you are leading the way and showing other people how it can be done, how you can still have an affordable product, a profitable product, and run a great business and have everything made in the United States. So thank you for taking the lead with that, Evan.
Thank you for your kind words, for sure. And basically we stand 100% behind that. I mean, we have US made all over everything we do, because we stand behind that. And all of our mechanisms are US made. They're 20 minutes from our door. And this metal supplier, again, who does many other things for us, is right down the road as well. And I can't stress enough, like you said, is that we don't want to go overseas. We don't want that to be what becomes our MO. We want it to be that I can get the owner on the phone and him be here to help fix the problem right away. And that way we can help our customers act quicker as well, because that way it's just immediate reaction.
There's so much to be said, and I could stand on a mountaintop and say this every day. There's so much to be said about the power of the American small business and what they do to fuel our economy, to employ our people. I mean, you live and your factory is in a small town in North Carolina.
Very small.
And you're a big component of that small town. And, I know there's small business Saturdays and all those kinds of things to support small businesses. I think we should buy and support small businesses every day, because they do so much to contribute to our daily lives that sometimes we look beyond it, because as consumers, whatever reason, we have this habit of going for the lowest price, and let's go where you get the cheapest. But small businesses fuel America.
You're 100% right. We touched on it earlier. I think that my Grandpa definitely was proponent of the American dream, but my father was right behind him in the same way, because he built this structured around exactly what we're talking about, and us making a product and selling a product not only grows the business, but we're helping our employees make dinner. We're helping them Christmas for their children. I mean, these things are something that we want to continue. We want to make sure that us as a family here at Trinity Furniture can continue that, because not that they're not a person, but we want to make sure that it is a U.S. presence for sure.
So Evan, I just want to take a minute and say thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you allowing me to be part of the journey to share your dad's legacy and highlight some of the things in his life and his career, but also to help you share your voice about the future of Trinity, where you're headed, what you're doing. I'm excited to see all the amazing things that you and your team are going to accomplish. And dude, it's been great to have you here today. I really appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this has been a lot of fun for sure. Looking forward to hearing it back.
So Evan, if our community would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, definitely. The normal avenue of just going to our website, trinityfurniture.com, would be a good start. But I'm on LinkedIn. My name's a little bit difficult to get. It's here on the podcast, Evan Lagueruela, and there's several avenues there as well. So would be open to hearing from anyone for sure.
So we're going to drop the website link in the show notes, as well as Evan's link to his profile on LinkedIn. Remember, guys, you know the rules. If you reach out on LinkedIn, be sure you hit that add note button and let him know you heard him here on the Trend Report, and that's why you're connecting with him. And I got to tell you, as somebody who's recently been to their website, it's really cool. Go check out all their great products on their website. And Evan, thank you again for being here, man. I appreciate you, and I'm wishing you much success in the years to come.
No, thank you so much, Sid. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys, go out there and make today great, and we'll talk to you soon.